I heard recently that some of you were supporting a third bridge, specifically near the port. Is that correct? No?
I mean, it's an option. I haven't said a specific bridge in a specific place, but it's under consideration.
Oh, okay. I wanted to know if there's any leadership, anybody leading an effort to have a bridge closer to our district here near Camas.
So Brandon is the co-chair. Did you see the bus that just ran here?
Sometimes your name gets pulled out of a hat.
But I do want to say this. Our positions on a third bridge have been characterized in many, many ways. I will say I don't think there's anyone on the committee who doesn't want a third, fourth, fifth, sixth bridge. I mean, if you look how many Portland has, it seems like we should have just as many going between our states. Yeah. And in fact, you know, other states. But the first priority right now is the I-5 bridge because it is so much of the way there. We have a lot of the work from the last time that the project was halted that we can use. It's still usable. We have a substantial bill from the federal government that we'll have to pay back if we don't complete our work there. We have two structures that are pretty old. So there's no project at all anywhere right now because we're still looking at what is going to be the best project. In my perfect world, it's a tunnel because then we can hang on to the existing bridge and we can go underneath. And we can increase capacity and reduce congestion and all those good things. But I don't think there's anyone here who doesn't want a multitude of crossings. And one of the things that we did was talk about the development of a bridge authority who does nothing but looks for locations. The proposed project, when I talked with my colleagues in Oregon about the 192nd proposition, they were saying not only no, but heck no, but they didn't say heck. So I think that part of it was...
Why did they say no?
Because they are freaked out about 82 is a parking lot in the morning, so they're like, you're gonna dump more people into our parking lot?
See, I'm not specifically talking about 192nd, I think something more closer to Camas would be better because the land's there, the crossing would be simpler. But it would seem to me with Amazon across the river right there, there's a FedEx facility, there's an airport, it would seem to me that it would help with the traffic to take some of the traffic off on 84.
Well, it should be spread out, but you've got people heading into the city on 80. I mean, they have their people going that way, so we'll see.
What I will say is that there are definitely a number of people, so there's an official bi-state group, right? There's 8 legislators from Washington, 8 from Oregon. We're sitting down and we're having these public meetings. What we've done to date is kind of go over the history. Where were we? What happened with the CRC? What documents are available? Why were things thrown out of the mix? Just what happened, right? We're learning from our past to figure out what our future is. Within that group, there are definitely people who are advocating for additional crossings. I don't think anybody has mentioned a specific, hill to die on crossing besides something that makes the system work better. I will also say something that was interesting to me is I think many of us expected Oregon to come to the table and say I-5 or nothing. And actually at our first meeting, we produced this list of principles that included replacement of the I-5 bridge. And the Oregon delegation changed it to say the I-5 or an additional bridge. And so I think there's a lot of discussion going on that happens for a number of reasons. And again, you don't have to have the same you don't have to see the same problem to want the same goal. For example, there's a senator from the Rose Garden, Lou Fredrickson. That man hates smog and congestion more than anything in the world because his district is impacted by it, asthma and health-related concerns especially. So I think if it's just we're putting up a new I-5 bridge that does nothing to affect congestion, I can guarantee you he's going to give a loud no speech on that and probably influenced a vast majority of his colleagues. So I mean, in that world, those discussions are happening. The group is not to a point where we're even talking about, you know, how many pilings there are and how much art there is and where it's going to go. We're learning from our past. But I think to my surprise, that discussion is more open than I thought it would be between decision makers.
In fact, I want to add in, it's not just about the bridge or the bridge design or any of that. All of the sacred cows, or many of the sacred cows that were, you know, the hills to die on the last project. I mean, the reality is we offered a plan whereby there would be, that we could move forward last time, and both Governor Kitzhaber and Jay Inslee said no light rail, no bridge, right? So we're not hearing that this time. We're not hearing no light rail. They're saying you're gonna have a mass transit component. We say, yeah, and they go, huh, all right, let's keep talking. So it's a very different time now than it was back then.
And follow up.
Ernie?
Yeah, well, with the last bridge, I did some research, and what bothered me was all the pork that came with the monies from the last bridge. I mean, they were gonna build a bus depot in Hillsborough, but I researched a bridge that was being built over the Mississippi River. 3 interstates, longer crossing, it was $700 million, or just, you know, and ours was, what, $2.7
$5.7
billion, you know? And I'll give you another quick example. The bridge that goes across Highway 14 to the apple tree, okay? Little pedestrian, okay? It was like, was it 2.7 million dollars to build that. And the one going on the transit right past the freeway, going over to Max, I had called and asked them, what did it cost to build that bridge? And they told me it was $300,000. Okay, so my concern with the building of the bridge is the product, and building it in a way that it costs, instead of, I mean, I know it has to look nice, and that's fine, but to spend that much money to build the bridge that is just gonna move vehicles across, it shouldn't have to cost that much. So I don't know how you reduce the pork, or why they want the pork, but I think that's prohibitive from us doing what we should be doing.
Part of the problem with the old project was that they had $1 figure for bridge, but it actually included 2 or 3 subsidiary bridges. Many people don't think about the bridge in terms of, or the transit center on Hayden Island is truly on an island. So you have to cross sloughs and rivers to get to the transit facility. So the cost of those bridges and all the NEPA and SEPA, all of that stuff was included in, they just called it bridge cost instead of bridges cost. So that was a significant thing. But in my pea brain, which, you know, maybe too idealistic, I see where we pay for half the bridge and any improvement on our side of the river, and Oregon pays for half the bridge, and and whatever federal dollars that we can get just lowers the amount that we, you know what I mean, if we get any federal dollars at all. So, I mean, I agree with you. Part of my frustration with that project is just sort of the shell game of where's this money going? Why am I having to work so hard to understand where this money's going? You're right, retrofitting the Burnside Bridge for light rail, how is that our problem? The bus barn, the new TriMet administrative offices at the far end of Highway 99. Why are we paying for that? That doesn't, so, I agree with you. Julie?
Yes, Julie Hoff Russell. So I have a couple of issues. So I recently just closed my office in Tigard because I'm tired of that drive. It was only 38 miles from my house to my office. It could take 40 minutes or it could take 2 hours. But it's not just the bridge that needs to be fixed, it's the bottlenecks on the Oregon side too. When it goes down to one lane from 84 to 205, that is always gonna be a problem. And I hope that's being addressed, and I would hope that all the public officials that are making that decision drive that during rush hour and see what it's really like.